23rd of December at 5:31 p.m. in Saarland, Germany. Welcome everyone to our cosmic journey, casting our chart in the startup universe. Designer Jake here with, as always and forever, engineer Trey. Hello, Trey.
Hello, Jake.
So you might notice that the setup is a little bit different here for a couple of reasons. Number one, obviously we're in a different place. For the purposes of getting out of Berlin for Christmas and for New Year's, we always decide to go somewhere different. This year we're up north in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, otherwise shortened form, MacPom, to get away from the city life. And it's been actually very delightful. We went to this place last year. We love this place.
Yes, it's amazing.
We're here again. We're very excited about that. We literally have just arrived. And when we did just arrive, this is number two, I asked Trey where my bag was because Trey kept saying, I probably forgot something. And let's be very clear, he didn't forget this. We forgot this.
My bag, joint forgetting.
It's a joint forgetting. So my bag, which has my kind of note-taking device, which is called a Remarkable, along with my laptop, along with probably something else that's in there, but I don't exactly know what it is sitting in the kitchen in Berlin, probably 200 kilometers, maybe a little bit more, away from us today. So I am recording this on a phone right now for you. And we have no idea what it's going to look like, how the edit's going to be. Maybe this is the new way we're going to record. We have no idea.
Yeah, maybe phone is the new laptop. I mean, I think that's definitely what Apple's been pushing for quite some time.
Exactly. And also, two things come to my mind here. Number one, that the MyPillow CEO, Lindell, I can't remember his first name, he only uses a phone for his business. And when his phone was confiscated by the FBI, he basically said, that's going to close my business. And it's like, oh, Mike Lindell. So I was like, oh, good on Mike Lindell for only using his smartphone for his business.
Wow.
And so like, why can't I do the same? And so we had talked about this idea of like doing something like forgetting something like this and like what that might mean. That might be loss, for example. But in loss, you can adapt to that loss, and sometimes you come out the other side saying like, that actually is better. And I had all of these assumptions in my mind of what I needed, what I had to have, and I've moved away from that. Trey said we should drive back to Berlin and get the laptop tomorrow or tonight. And I said, you know what? Let's just give it some time. Just see what happens. I'm going to have to edit the video in his laptop, but other than that, I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do or what our requirements are when it comes to our need for devices. We'll just see.
Yeah, because we're here for like a little over a week.
Yeah,
this whole next cycle, we're going to be here.
Next cycle.
But the extra iPad is here with the extra keyboard, and most of what you need is available via the web.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll just have to see. It's not like I am designing screens right now or designing flows, as we've made very clear through many, many episodes, going through a object-oriented UX journey. Yeah. And that's really what the journey was, at least for me this week. The journey really was around like really getting the planet object done and settled. But before we start talking about what we've accomplished this week, we always start with a check-in question. Yeah, and that means, actually, you should be putting up the...
I know. See, I'm already falling down in my job. I'm supposed to be doing
terrible producer.
Just the worst.
So as you can see, our cycle here is called In the Scheming Spirit, and Trey's going to show a little bit of like the schema stuff that was created through a very fun little exercise he did with what's called a Livebook. We're excited about that. But before we get to that, we go to your check-in question. Trey, take us away on a journey.
Yes. So we're here in like the middle of nowhere in Germany. And to get out here, there's like lots of little tiny winding roads and spooky little forests. And, it's in the wintertime. It's like just after the solstice, actually. So it's very, it started getting dark. Like it was pretty hardcore dusk at 4, a little after 4. And it harkens to the stories of fairy and children's stories of kids lost in the woods and wolves coming out at night. And so my question for you is, you can be, if you were any character from a Brothers Grimm story, or maybe even like a fabricated, sort of dark children's tale. And you could be a protagonist, you could be an antagonist, you could be, um, whatever you want.
Yeah.
I
What would
figured
I
it would
be?
be kind of like a thematic question for where we're at.
Yeah, exactly. Although we haven't shown the outside of this, and nor do we have enough light to cut in some amazing shots right now of the outside. I was just going to tell you you should stop sharing your screen at this point.
Yeah,
Good on
thank
you
you.
figuring that out.
I'll
Uh,
get there eventually. This video is
you're
going to
doing
be
great.
great.
You're doing great. Like, why not you be the producer? We'll just see how that
This,
goes.
this is not in the category of things that went better because of the situation we're
So far, we're taking it one step at a time.
in. Yeah.
Uh, for me, the first one that I went to, even though I believe they meet a pretty bad demise, is Little Red Riding Hood's like wolf. And the reason why I would like to be Little Red Riding Hood's wolf is mostly because I want to cosplay as a grandma. I think that'd be great.
You want to cosplay as a wolf as a grandma.
Sorry, I would like to cosplay as a wolf, as a grandma, as a sleeping, person. That is my cosplay journey. And like, is there anything preventing me right now from cosplaying as a wolf, as a grandma? Absolutely not. But the only thing that's holding me back is myself, and I'm working on that.
I like it. I just realized how close cosplay is to cosmic. And so if we ever have like some sort of like playground kind of thing, or maybe that's what we should name like the
Well,
prototype is, like
we're gonna
cosplay ground.
we do Cos-Play-Ground. Not bad, actually. I kind of like that Cos-Play-Ground. The cosmic, the group of characters that will help you in your journey through cosmic. We only have one that is kind of in our minds right now, which is the Moonicorn. Go back to episode 1 to watch the Moonicorn, please. And I think we had talked about a whole wide range of characters. Some of them, kind of representing, the moon. Maybe one representing the sun. Maybe one representing, I don't know, the ascendant. I have no idea. And we talked about these characters being called the Cos Squad. And
Mm.
so cosplay, Cos Squad, Cos-Play-Ground. I like all of that.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
where you're
it's fitting
going.
a cause theme. I also like that cause sounds like cause CAUSE as well.
Yeah,
Um,
cause.
yeah, yeah. What's this? What's that? Okay, so
And what
for
about you?
for,
Brothers Grimm tale, protagonist, antagonist. Even the protagonists don't necessarily end up all great out of
yeah, no,
Brothers
like
Grimm.
nobody does, and yeah,
Nobody does.
yeah.
It's kind of like a Fincher film. A Fincher, right? Like I can't remember. No, maybe not Fincher. I don't know. We'll cut that. Just cut that.
uh, um, Mine
Wait,
is.
didn't David Fincher? Sorry, didn't David Fincher do Requiem for a Dream? Is that why I thought that?
I feel like I should know this, and I don't. I'm
That's
sorry.
a real shame.
Yeah.
Somebody in this production has a computer that they can do a search right now.
Okay.
And if it was me, I would be doing searches in the background for these things.
What's his name again?
I said David Fincher, but just look up the director for Requiem for a Dream. That's the correct answer.
Directed by Aronofsky.
Aronofsky. That's what I
Aronofsky.
meant. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well, whoever
Great.
Fincher is.
Boy, the viewer loves this. All right. Anyways, please go ahead with your answer to your
This is a
question.
good cut. Yeah. So I think mine is the little girl that that nothing is quite right. That nothing is quite the right size. Ooh, gesundheit.
Thank you. I tried to hold it in. It didn't work.
This soup is too big. It's Goldilocks.
Oh, that's Goldilocks, of
Yeah,
course.
Goldilocks. I feel like I'm bringing a lot of like Goldilocks energy over the last like few cycles of like, this isn't quite right. It's too this, this isn't quite right. It's too that, swerving your way towards towards answers.
Yeah. Towards baby's bed and a whole mess of bears that are not going to like that you are finally finding the right bed.
Wait, that is the bears, right? Like that's yeah,
It's
Goldilocks
the
and
three
the
bears. Goldilocks three bears.
yeah,
Too hard, too soft, too cold, too
yeah,
hot. All of this thing.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. That's a weird. I'm now that I'm thinking about it, I think that fairy tale is kind of strange because it's doesn't it start with like the bears all make the houses, right?
No, that's the little pigs. No, what
Oh,
ends up
that's the little
happening is
pigs.
the bears are just like living in the forest, living their best life. Goldilocks breaks in because she's a horrible person, and then
Right, right.
she ends up
And
in the
also a
bed
pig.
and whatever gets eaten, and then like we're supposed to feel sorry. I don't know the whole thing. I'm just like she broke into their house. Like
Yeah.
there's a reason why in the land of Grimm there's stand your ground laws. Like, come on.
Whoa, that got dark.
Oh, it's fine. You know what? If we're gonna talk to brothers, if we're gonna talk Grimm, there we go.
We're gonna bring the grim to the grim.
We're
Uh,
gonna layer Grimm on Grimm.
yeah. All right. Well, we've rambled enough. Let's just jump into
Yeah, let's just,
demo.
show them live books. And while you get that started, let me talk a little bit about like what this all is and why we care about it. So one thing that
It's Requiem for a
is
Dream.
very important in business is that there's room for a dream. Perfect. Thank you for doing that lookup. One thing that's very important in business is that you have business intelligence. And how are you best suited to be intelligent in business? And it is to have good data.
Yeah, exactly.
Livebooks is our way to, it is our essentially our business intelligence tool. It's a whole lot more than that, but it is our way that we query the data in order for us to understand, something about our members or our customers, or is what Trey's going to show you about like the universe, as you will see here in a second.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, no, that's yeah, that's a great introduction because I think the thing when looking at something new, if the viewer isn't already familiar with the idea of code notebooks, which I don't
Why
think
would they?
most people, yeah, I don't unless you are specifically in the field of like AI and machine learning,
Stable
or
diffusion,
yeah,
maybe.
or data analytics. So
Yeah.
you're doing like yeah, like a lot of like deep data analytics type stuff. Coding notebooks are probably not something that you've ever even heard of. And they kind of came up in that atmosphere, but now people are using them for sort of like all kinds of crazy things. And one of the really great things about the platform that we've chosen, which to remind everybody is Elixir and Phoenix. Primarily, we have a bunch of TypeScript and JavaScript and all kinds of other stuff in there too, and now WebAssembly and C. However, the core thing is all Elixir, and Elixir provides concurrency and stability out of the box in a way that is pretty unique. It's pretty rare
Yeah.
for a platform to do this the way that.
Elixir has this kind of idea of mailboxes and passing messages between things, which I won't go into great detail. And like, how
Yeah,
could I
yeah, no,
possibly go into detail about this?
yeah,
And
you're exactly right. There's things called processes, and
yeah,
processes are kind of like their own little isolated, lightweight things,
yeah,
which can do work. And then you have process trees, and process trees are supervised over by supervisors, and they sort of pass messages to each other, exactly like you said.
and
And
that
it gives,
allows for an encapsulation so that these things can stay relatively stable. And if they crash, they only crash in one place, and they kind of reboot themselves and all of that good stuff. That's really
yeah,
what
yeah,
it gives you.
yeah, exactly. So it creates systems that are very resilient and self-healing. Um, yeah, so but one of the really cool things about the platform as well is that you can have structures of processes that can talk to each other as long as they can find each other over a network, for example. And so what we can do then with this, which is really really cool, is we can have our running application, which is Cosmic. That's the thing that our members log into, that they will use to cast charts and all of this stuff, right? That all happens within the application. But then we have other things like Jake was describing, business intelligence, um, uh, uh, um, insight making tools, and things like this, which normally you would use some other third party tool for potentially, something like Tableau, or
You would pay a lot of money for
and
it
you'd pay
too.
a ton of money for this. And you would also probably build some things like administrative tooling and stuff like that. You might actually build into the application
Right.
itself. And so you have like an admin sort of interface that's only available to people that have an admin flag or something along these lines. And the cool thing about something like a live code notebook is that, which I'm going to describe actually what this is here in a second, is that it's a separate thing. It's a completely separate, isolated thing from the application, but it can talk to the application and it can have awareness of the application in a very deep and rich way. That's more than just like having the same shared database.
That's all very exciting and everything, but let's see it in action.
Yeah, let's see it in action. Let's talk more show. So, hopefully fun for this particular crowd. I love this. This, by the way, if you're wondering about the theme of this particular live book from an image perspective, or yeah, just the theme.
The storytelling journey. Yeah, this is the storytelling journey. Has this ever happened to you?
I had some different gifts in here that were not nearly as fun.
So what Trey's doing here at the top is just setting up some requirements that are necessary. But like what we're going to do here is we're going to do something with a location and a date time in order, we're going to do some fun with that. So let's get a location.
Yeah,
you've done that. And whose location? I can't see it here. You've used.
Oh yeah, because you're on the phone. Yeah, it's pretty actually.
Oh, that's mine. We're using mine.
Yeah. I was going to start with yours. I previously asked Jake if he was okay with me using his birth information on the podcast, which he is. So so basically we're just we're going to set some information here. We're just named just for display purposes. The date here is actually not Jake's birthday. It's actually 15 days before Jake's birthday, which is going to make sense here in a second. But it is the time of Jake's birth. And then we're also just setting a location. So he was born in the city of Libertyville. I've just put Libertyville as some text in here, which is also going to make sense in just a second.
Yeah.
And so just to kind of like show, I will evaluate all of these things. So there's a little button here to evaluate. That's literally running this code inside of this Livebook process. And then you can see it's just spit out this name value here, which is Jake. What this allows us to do, the important part here is on this line 3, which you can see that we're saying cosmic.geography and then get location by name. And this is exactly the same call that the web, if you go back a few videos to when we were showing the first version of the Cosmic Console where you could type in a location and then it was popping up a list of locations. This is exactly the same thing. That's exactly what this is doing. And so if I evaluate this, what this has done is it has actually run that code against that other, the application, Cosmic application. So we've got the Livebook over here, we've got the application over here, and they're talking to each other. And this allows for, so I just basically did the search and we can verify that in fact this is Libertyville, Illinois, in the America Chicago time zone. Like this was all stuff that came back from our location database. So awesome, we're all good here. This is the set it and forget it guy, I really adore. The next thing that we're going to do is set just a little bit more stuff. So we're going to, now that we have Jake's time of birth and 15 days before his birth, we're also adding the time zone so that we can make sure that we get the location information correct. We also, if you noticed up here as well, if I scroll down here, we also got a latitude and a longitude back from our location database. And we're just going to feed that in here, set up some other stuff so that we can just verify here that like all of this stuff looks correct, which it does.
Yeah, looks good.
This right here, just ignore this. This is basically just so that we can do the connection on another live connection cell. Although this one is now just code. And in this particular case, I added some support in our utilization of SWEF into Cosmic. And so, but that's all this is doing is it's basically saying like, give me Sun, Moon, Mercury, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn with the whole sign house system at Jake's Latin lawn from his birth, etc. And then that gives us back some data. And then we have this, which is, I will go into a ton of detail about what
I would absolutely do not go into detail about this. Just say that it's rendering things out in a way that looks nicer.
Yeah, that's a great description. We'll just leave it at that. And then, yeah, and so, let me go and expand this thing out just so that it's a little bit easier to see. and
Hey, there's my
voila.
ephemeris. And it's an ephemeris based upon my birth time,
Yeah,
not a
exactly.
midnight ephemeris, not a noon ephemeris, my birth time ephemeris. And so, if we were doing a secondary progression technique, for
Hmm.
example, we would look at my first year of life, is what the row that Trey's highlighting right now, 0 to 1. But if I wanted to look at my second year of life, I could look here
Yeah,
at this
and it would
stuff.
be
And then
yeah, it's exactly at your time.
and it's the exact time of my birth, which for most things doesn't make a whole lot of difference. But for things like fast moving planets like the moon or the ascendant, certainly these things do matter. This is not the way in which we would show a secondary progression, obviously, within the application. However, what Trey is demonstrating here is that he's using something that's completely disconnected from our application. So we have our application, which is called Cosmic. He has this thing that's called Livebook. The Livebook is hooked up to Cosmic and is getting, calling things in Cosmic, getting things back, and displaying this data. This data doesn't necessarily have to be an ephemeris. Like I said, it could be the way in which members use our software. And we can use this to understand what's working, what's not working. We can make better design decisions for you.
Yeah. So I put just to make it a little bit easier to see. I did the planets up here. So 7 classics, the 2 luminaries and 5 planets, visible planets, and then I also just
The
did angular
angles.
houses here. So the ascendant, the midheaven, and then the angular houses. This is using whole sign, so they're all just 0 degrees of whatever the sign is. And so if we come down here to Jake's, so Jake's ascendant is here at 25 degrees Virgo.
Virgo.
Um, which is interesting. So his first house obviously is Virgo. If you come back up here and look at his chart as well, you'll notice that this last planet here is Saturn, which is at 12 degrees of Virgo in his first house.
Virgo.
And also Virgo, it's Saturn in Virgo. Also important to point out, in understanding Jake's insane ability to like categorize and organize and boundaryify things, is that also his sun is in Aquarius. Aquarius is traditionally ruled by Saturn. Saturn is in his first house. It's pretty,
It's very Saturn forward. We've made references in the past
yeah,
for
it's Saturn
sure.
forward. Anyway, so yeah, but
But
okay, so
wait,
that's cool. But
there's more.
wait. Yes, so you'll notice up here that I just drop in a column here for
Yeah,
this.
you're like, that's not very nice to look at. What
Yeah,
if we wanted to look at the data in a way that like showed progression over time in a more visual way?
yeah. Could you imagine? And if you look here, you're like, oh well, the moon was a little bit faster here. It was slowing down at the time of Jake's birth, but it was still faster, like 3.2 something like that degrees per day motion of the moon. So it's still a fast moon, but it was like kind of on. So, but if you come down here,
Let's
what
evaluate
I've
this.
done is I've just
What?
plotted in a graph. So we've Livebook gives you a pretty first class way of using a thing called Vega Light, which is a graphing system that's very fast and lightweight and very easy to utilize. You can see the code here is not very much at all to do this. And basically, I just took all of those speeds of the moon and I just dropped them in here. And the cool thing is that I also added the sign as as an extra field here to color the points so that you can see it like comes in here: Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, and then Capricorn, and then Aquarius, and then Pisces, and then Aries, and then Jake's moon is right about in here. When people talk about the moon's variability in shifting in speed, you could really see just over a 30-day window here what that looks like in a graph.
Yeah.
But then I was like looking at this and I'm like, well, we got the speeds of everything. So then I was like, well, let's look at Mercury.
Doing great.
Right around its average and kind of heading up in that direction. We could also, for example, we could look at Venus.
Why are you going to do it live?
Yeah, why not?
Wow.
Yeah, so this is cool. But I want to show one more thing before we call call this good. So I'm actually just going to comment this out really quick, and I'm going to uncomment myself. We often talk about my Mercury being afflicted.
Problematic. It's not
It's
great.
it's
Let's
afflicted.
take a look at how not great it is. Can we
Yeah.
pull up your Mercury here?
So I
Look
was
at how
born
retrograde
on
it
the
is.
28th, right around in here. And as you can see, these negative numbers mean that the speed was negative, which means that the planet was retrograde. So Mercury was, was well in a retrograde motion, pretty close to the bottom of the pit of a retrograde motion. But yeah, so you could kind of get this like nice visual, and so also because Venus is in retrograde, Venus starts out in Pisces, retrogrades into Aquarius, then heads back into Pisces again. And and it only transitions 2 signs here as well because it's moving much slower. In Jake's, it was actually transitioning 3 signs. So anyway, it's just a nice. So you can imagine like these graphs can like you could do tons and tons of stuff with them.
We could
So
prototype a
we're
lot of things.
showing what's that?
Yeah. We can prototype a lot of things and not necessarily like, again, we wouldn't necessarily have a member or customer kind of walk through all this stuff, but we can use this data to like say to our member, like, what if you saw speed graphs that were like this? Like, what do you get out of this? What do you like? And maybe they do get something out of this. And this is relatively easy for us to do. And we're doing this to feel things out.
So it just gives us this really nice way of, yeah, kind of just doing whatever we want in a kind of safe exterior environment. And
That's what I'm talking about. Wow. Love her.
she's great. It's the
Mrs.
sticky buddy.
Mrs. Sticky Buddy is so
Sticky
great.
buddy. Anyway, okay, so that's Livebook. That was a lot of the fun of this. Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's it for
And
the
that's really what this cycle is. I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do just on a phone to be productive and happy while we're here. We're going to see
or
if I have
maybe
to
we
drive
drive
back.
back to Berlin tomorrow.
We might have to drive back to Berlin. Tune in next week to find out how this saga ends. Until then, be well, wash your hands, happy holidays, hug your family, and we'll see you very soon. We love you.
Have a
Bye.
lovely holiday. Bye.